Danny, great to see you. You've been busy. You've made some multiple off-season moves, including moving a couple of All-Stars. I think a lot of question is, what's the next chapter in your mind for Jazz basketball?
Well, I'm excited for basketball this year. I think we have some really talented young players. We have a lot of assets to continue to make moves and try to build into a championship team.
Were some of these moves difficult in your mind, or was it just something you had planned and knew that was the avenue that you needed to go?
Well, first thing I'd say is, I came in here like mid-season last year, and so this isn't really my plan. This is me collaborating with players, coaches, former coaches,
Right.
Ownership. Just getting a feel that we needed to make changes, that this isn't something that I discerned. I feel like watching the team play, I will say that I didn't really feel like there was a belief. And then just talking to people, it didn't seem like there was a real belief in this group of guys going forward. And I'm saying as a championship caliber team, I mean, guys liked each other, guys played hard, they played for each other, but just everybody in this organization believes that we needed to make changes.
You've been through this before in Boston, but building a championship caliber team takes time. Maybe give us some insight again on what the fans can expect in the process over the next few seasons.
So I think the fans can expect fun and excitement, energy. I feel it in the gym already this summer. There's so much enthusiasm. We have youth. We have 2 young lottery picks, or first-round picks, 1 lottery pick. We have a kid in Markkanen who's had a fantastic summer this summer and just had 43 points and a big win. Taylor Horton-Tucker, dynamic 21-year-old player. I think there's a lot to be excited about. I'm excited about this team, and I don't anticipate that our team is going to win as many games as we've won, but I believe that it's going to be more entertaining and more exciting basketball.
Do you expect, though, a very dynamic, competitive camp? Because as I prepare, I'm trying to figure out or read your mind on who maybe the rotation players are, or the starting 5, because really it's hard to put the pieces together. I guess they'll decide that on the floor.
Yeah, I think so. And Will has a tough job as a brand new head coach. I feel that first of all, we have 17 guaranteed contracts, so there will be some changes between now and the end of training camp. I don't know what those will be, but we could have the veteran players returning to our team who we like, and we love them around a new coach and around our younger players. Mm-hmm. It's a great advantage to have that. At the same time, like I said, those young players are what's going to be really driving them. And I think that it'll be fun for our veterans even to play with the younger players.
With change comes rebrand, new ownership, and your involvement with the Jazz. I look at the floor, and it's the black and whites. We see yellows, and we see black. I mean, that's part of the whole rebranding of this franchise. And in some ways it's exciting, and I think it also takes time for fans to kind of take it in as well and readjust themselves. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of changes going on, and so whenever you make change, there's people that aren't comfortable with the change. They're not certain that it's the right thing to do in the change. I mean, we feel confident just because we have a good organization here, well-established organization, and some smart people, I think, running the top of this organization. And I just think that everybody feels like change needed to happen, and so I think that I'm enthusiastic about that. I think it's really fun, and most people I run into on the street feel like they're excited for the upcoming year. And I mean, the reality is we've had 16 years of, it's better than mediocrity for sure at times in the last 16 years, but at the same time it really hasn't been championship caliber basketball. And 16 years without getting past the second round of the playoffs,
right,
I think is not what any of us want. And So the change is just, okay, here we are with veteran team, had been all in
Right.
on this veteran team. I think Dennis Lindsay has done a fantastic job in this organization, as did Quinn Snyder. And but I just think we're starting over.
You know, you have some of the most flexibility of any team in recent memory. OKC may fall in that category as well. But over the summer, you've collected 14, correct me if I'm wrong, 14 first-round draft picks. And really that is the definition of flexibility, to help you build, mold, deal for the future of this franchise.
Yeah, and I think that this, as we started this offseason, as we started having the conversations about what we needed to do, there was a lot of conversation around, well, like, we don't have any picks, so we can't be involved in certain trades to make our team better as it currently stood. We're way over the tax, one of the top
Right.
highest payrolls in the industry. So there wasn't flexibility, and I don't think that was very much fun for those of us that are working in the front office. And I think that everyone is, I mean, it's really been re-energized with this flexibility, with these draft picks. I know we don't know who those draft picks are.
Right.
Absolutely, we need some good fortune in the draft. We need to work really hard to make sure those draft picks are useful to the organization going forward. But yeah, the work begins. It's just starting anew.
You know, those picks, Danny, just expand. It's really interesting because looking back in the past, the Carls and the Johns were those mid-teens, and you do have to.
And Donovan and Rudy.
And Donovan and Rudy.
Yeah.
And you know, it's obviously scouting, but also there has to be a roll of the dice sometimes of luck and the work ethic they bring. And so that's really going to be an interesting scenario to see how those picks do actually work out.
Yeah, no question. I agree. We
Yeah.
need some good fortune.
Yeah. Will Hardy. I met him during Summer League a couple of years ago. Impressive guy, but he's also off that one branch of the Popovich tree. Dive into his personality, his philosophy that you like, and what really turned your eye towards him as the new head coach.
Will is very mature for his age. He presents himself in a way, his presence in front of a group of people, in front of the players, in front of us, in front of Dwayne and myself, who have been in front of many coaches in our lifetime, was very impressive. He came across to us, and I think he just has a way about him that has some toughness.
Mm-hmm.
He has an ability to hold players accountable, and yet he's willing to spend the time to develop the relationships with the players. And all three of those things, each one of those things aren't so hard,
Mm-hmm.
but all three of them, sometimes it's hard. You develop really close relationships with people, but you got to hold players accountable to keep a team together. Because when players aren't held accountable, then the team can splinter. But I think Will has a high demand for defense and toughness,
Mm-hmm.
and will hold the players to a pretty high standard. I'm very excited about what I've seen in Will so far.
Before we cut you loose, you know, the recent trade you just had that moved Donovan up to Cleveland, it's really interesting. I want you to break down the three players, if you don't mind. There's a lot of excitement about Colin Sexton, and maybe we start there. What you saw in him and why that's an exciting player that fits, I think, obviously what you and Will and Justin and the rest of this management team wants to see in this franchise.
Well, Colin has great character, an amazing work ethic. I remember the first time I heard about Colin when I was in Boston was when he, almost won a game with a 3-on-5 after a few of his players had been ejected. It was a miraculous game by Colin. But Colin is just a tough kid. But that kind of epitomizes who he is, that 3-on-5. Like, you don't give up. Here's the crazy adversity in the middle of a game, and he found a way to thrive in the middle of that. But he's coming off a knee injury last year, but he's 23 years old. He's averaging 20 points a game in his early career, but just an energetic, enthusiastic, great teammate, great work ethic kid that we're really excited to have.
You mentioned Lauri Markkanen earlier, just ripping up EuroLeague. I mean, he's really turned ahead. I don't know, Danny, in your days of playing, there's different levels of players who mature at different rates, and they find their confidence at different times in their career. Is this that time where Markkanen has maybe found who he is?
Well, he certainly has had a breakout summer, and some of it is playing with his Finnish national team. That's different than playing with NBA stars. He's clearly the best player on that team, but he's beating teams of better players or that have had better NBA careers than him. And but he's really coming into his own. We're seeing things in him, grabbing rebounds and going coast to coast with the dribble, and those are things you haven't really seen out of Lauri yet. And so we're excited about his future.
So you have a couple of KU Jayhawkers on this roster too. Obaji, and Azubuike, but Obaji, being from the Midwest, a lot of friends called me immediately and said, "Man, this guy is good. We like him, and he fits your team." And because they know the Jazz, it's about the work ethic and about going out and playing your tail off every night. What's your thoughts about? I know it's early, but what did you like about him?
Well, Oshae was a lottery pick on most of our scouts as well. He was a lottery pick by Cleveland, but he was a big part of this trade. He has a big upside. He's top college player in first team All-American last year, a national champion, 6'6", wing players. We're all looking for wing players and versatile players, but he really just continued to improve. He's had great college coaching with Coach Self at Kansas, and he's gotten better every year. And he's a shooter, shot over 40% from the three-point line, and he's a 6'6" athlete that is a pretty complete player, and we're excited about him.
Well said, Danny. Thank you.
All right, Mike.
Great to see you.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, buddy.